My dad's wedding was a week away. His new wife, her son, and the butler planned to kill me. After being reborn, I started by ruining her $1,000,000 wedding dress. The housekeeper became my stepmother, and together with her son, they plotted to kill me. After being reborn, I exposed a video of her affair at her own wedding, destroying her reputation completely. I watched as she and her son were kicked out. They left with nothing, wandering the streets like outcasts. I smiled and tossed a moldy piece of bread into their begging bowl. This is all you deserve. When I opened my eyes, I found myself back to a week before my dad's wedding to our housekeeper, Megan Zimmerman. Looking around, I noticed the house was filled with wedding decorations and new furniture. Boxes of sweets and wedding favors were scattered everywhere, and the staff was bustling about, making the place lively. I stood there for a moment stunned until I saw Megan walking in dressed in an extravagant designer wedding gown. "Lexi, look at this wedding dress your dad bought for me. It cost $1,000,000. There it is, stunning. Go ahead, feel the fabric," she said, raising her eyebrows with a mocking smile. In my past life, I believed her and reached out to touch the dress, only to be accused by her son Brandon Zimmerman of deliberately ruining it. The dress already had a large tear, which Megan had cut herself to frame me. My dad and I were never close, so when Brandon made the accusation, my dad believed him without hesitation. As punishment, he had Brandon cut up all my clothes and forbid me from eating for 3 days. I ended up with a serious stomach condition, suffering through the pain. Meanwhile, they sat at the dining table enjoying their meal, acting like I wasn't even there. To humiliate me further, Brandon called me over to the table, dropped a piece of half-eaten steak on the floor, and smugly said, "Now, hungry. Get down and eat it." Not too long ago, he was just the handyman, doing odd jobs around the house. But now, with Megan backing him, he acted like he owned the place, treating me like dirt. He enjoyed degrading me. My biological father just looked the other way. I didn't eat that piece of meat, but Brandon later stuffed my bed full of scraps. Greasy, fatty meat covered in sauce was smeared all over my sheets. He didn't let the cleaning staff help me. I remember washing those sheets for hours, my hands raw and numb from the cold. Seeing Megan feigning concern in front of me, I glanced at the cabinet behind her and took a deliberate step back, but she just smirked and moved closer, even trying to hand me the wedding dress. Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching from outside the door. Megan slipped, stumbling forward. Megan crashed into the cabinet, a large bump forming on her forehead as blood started to trickle down. The wedding dress in her hand snagged on a pair of scissors on the table, ripping the fabric. She glared at me with fury. "Musty eye, how dare you dodge?" Hearing my dad approaching, I hurriedly dropped to my knees. I pretended to panic and shouted, "Megan, how could you be so careless? This wedding dress cost $1,000,000. My dad rushed in, his eyes wide with concern as he looked at the torn dress for a moment before turning to help Megan up. "Megan, what happened? Are you hurt? How did the dress get ruined?" Still dazed from the fall, Megan didn't respond immediately. I quickly added, "Ember tie dead." Megan was so eager to show me the dress that she slipped and fell against the cabinet. I didn't even touch her. My dad frowned, looking at Megan with a hint of disappointment. He took a deep breath and then lifted her gently. "Lexi, throw that dress away." Megan lay in my dad's arms, putting on a show, acting all pitiful and helpless. I watched them walk away, a cold smile on my face. Clearly, this wasn't enough. I tossed the wedding dress into the fire, watching it burn down to nothing but ashes. I had avoided the punishment from last time, but I wasn't satisfied yet. For days, Megan sported an ugly bump on her forehead that refused to go away no matter how many creams she used. She looked ridiculous and pathetic, and I couldn't help but turn away in disgust. As the wedding day approached, her temper flared. Even though she was pushing 40, she had always been obsessed with looking young, and now she couldn't stand the thought of being seen as unattractive. Naturally, she decided to take it out on me. Halfway through breakfast, the staff took away my plate. Megan sat across from me, pretending to be concerned. "Amatil, Lexi, you really shouldn't eat so much. You were starting to get chubby." Brandon jumped in. "Humphrey, you are as fat as a pig, ugly and worthless." I glanced down at my flat stomach.